Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode and another Victory Monday. We are the Atlanta Falcons UK podcast, and joining us tonight are my two usual partners in crime. Cal, unfortunately, can't be with us this evening as he's busy. So we wanted to just dive straight into it. It's been a pretty positive weekend, I think it's fair to say. Some great performances all around by some players that, fair to say, probably had some question marks against their names after the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, boys, how are we feeling?
I am invigorated. I feel good again. Back to winning ways after a rocky few weeks and a rocky London performance. But no, I'm satisfied. I won't dig in too much until we've done a little overview. But I'm happy again.
Liam, how you feeling?
Yeah, good. It's probably one of my favourite wins for quite a while, actually. Just in terms of the way it sort of what it came after and the way it went and the sort of the players involved in the win. It was good. It was a great feeling after what we've witnessed recently.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we spoke at length last and last week was probably, I don't know, it probably encapsulated how we were all feeling because nothing that we seemed to do ended up really getting going.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I think we can take some heart from, right, is the two defeats that we've had. Detroit look legit. And then, of course, the Jags roll back into London yesterday and dig on the Bills. So, I mean, I guess one of the positives that we can certainly bring from it is that the two losses that we've had have been, to teams that can, you would imagine, probably go the distance at least towards the playoffs. So I think that's understandable, right? And I think there's another conversation here where we go, in regards to QB1, who, I mean, I've got him back on this evening. I've got him back on, but I'm not back on the train yet. And
No,
I think what we seen against Houston. And listen, Houston beat the Jags, right? So maybe it's just going to be one of these kind of leapfrog seasons where, one team can beat another team and then that team can go and, lose to someone unexpected. I think it kind of feels like it's certainly going that way this season. But it's the first time that we've seen kind of 4 full quarters of decent football. We said, again, kind of coming into this game, it's another team that I wouldn't necessarily say Houston were prolific, but they're good against the run, right? And they showed that against us. And I can't remember the DB's name for Houston, who was out in the media this week saying, their QB is going to have to throw the ball, and he did. He did throw the ball. He threw the ball to, arguably, the weaponry that we've been waiting to see.
It's by far the best performance I think he's had, and definitely the best performance I've seen from him so far. Not just for the quality of some of the throws, but he just looked a little bit more composed, a little bit more relaxed. Looked like the pressure was off his shoulders a little bit, which is bizarre. But then again, at the same time, we're at home and he's still not lost a home game. So just keeps ticking over.
Right, well, we've done this before, boys. Right, so let's not say these things and jinx it from the off, shall we?
Yeah.
But I think you raise a good point, and I guess if anything, the pressure was on, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't look like it was, and I think Arthur repeatedly going, he's the guy. I guess it was fair to say when we've heard that repeatedly, it's almost like a kiss of death, right? But Liam, what was your take on Des this week? It felt a lot more composed.
I mean, yeah, it just was a lot better in sort of every aspect, really. I also think, just on the Des side of things, I think that was great. I think there was some improvement in the play calling as well. That helped him out. A little bit of creativity we saw this week, a few different things that we haven't seen. I mean, a few of them look to be sort of took out of maybe some other playbooks.
Yeah.
So some stuff I was seeing from other teams maybe recently that we've kind of incorporated, which is nothing wrong with doing that because it's effective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just all around great. I mean, I'm not going to get carried away with one performance. In the same way I didn't get carried away with a couple of bad performances and saying that he's done because of that. I'm not going to get carried away with one really good performance and say that he's the guy because of that. It's more obviously with his quarterback plays consistency at the end of the day. That's what we're going to need from him. Not every game's going to be amazing, but for someone who's going to be successful, you need to 80% of your games, you need to be a pretty good quarterback, sort of playing at that level that he's playing at yesterday, or around there. So if you can do that, that's where obviously I think we know we're onto something. So in the same way everybody can have a bad performance, I guess everybody can have a good performance, but at least what this shows is that he's capable of it ultimately, and also he was capable of it at probably the toughest time to be capable of it. Like it wasn't like he was on a high and confidence was forward, he was playing well. It's not like the run game was like on point and he could just sort of like flow with the run game. Like sometimes you can have a good run game and then if you put him in a lot of like second and 3, second and 4 positions all of the time, then quarterbacks can have a lot of an easier time. But that wasn't really the case last night. The run game wasn't actually that good. Like it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't that good. And he had to step up and deliver. And he had some massive pressure moments like during the game, and obviously especially towards the end of the game, where it was like now he actually has to do it or he'll lose the game. And he delivered on all counts, which is just a great sign for his mentality, really, over anything else.
So I've seen a stat: 9 out of 13, 65% accuracy on throws over 10 yards.
Much better.
I mean,
better considering he's not even been throwing it 10 yards.
It sounds like when we say it, right? It's almost like, well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you want. That's a big part of his job, right?
Yeah.
But I also, I guess we can't have too short memories, guys, because we were here for Mariota last year, who that was beyond woeful at times, and I think it speaks volumes to the fact that I think now he's kind of shown that he can do it. So if you can do it, then, and I wasn't going to get into this rant until a little bit later on, but I'm going to say it now, right? You guys broke my heart last week. Like they did. They broke my heart.
Yeah, they did.
And it's still so raw. And coach, Des, you haven't won me back yet. You've got to start putting in more performances out. We've got another hell of a winnable game next week. And we need to, and I'll tell you what I would really like to stop being in these 2-point, 3-point games. I want to see us go out and annihilate somebody, which we're more than capable of doing because we've proven now that we can throw the ball as well as run the ball. So, boys, coach, Des, for the love of God, please, you're pretty sure you can do it now.
We're yet to find that balance, aren't we? The D's been popping off all season, pretty much, give or take a few bits here and there.
Yeah.
And then it's just never coordinated. It's never balanced out. But I felt all right yesterday. I felt all right. Like you said, the run game wasn't popping off, but Desmond took it into his own hands and had a little Matty Wheels moment, which was nice to see. So I've got faith in us. Obviously, same as you, I'm not going to get too overexcited. It's a long season, and I have no doubt there's some more lows to come. But we can only take stuff at face value at the minute, can't we? So, there we go. That's a banging comment to get up as I was talking about Matty Ice. Pop. Yeah, do it. Wait, $500 or 500 mil?
500 million.
Yeah, that's more like it. 500 mil.
One thing of note that I wanted to bring on tonight to chat about. So I think we've all been pretty together on the feeling that O-line is needed to step up. O-lines need to do better. In particular, Caleb McGarry, who has made some howlers so far this season. So I hadn't actually realised at the time, probably because I was a bit too ensconced in what was going on. But that last drive, and I think one of the comments that we said that we seen earlier on from Paul over on Facebook. So game-winning drive is so clinical and actually felt inevitable. And there were times like I think that's a really, really good spot-on comment, because it almost did feel like we were going into that last drive with the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I hadn't realised is that McGarry wasn't on the field.
He was not. He was not.
So then I was like, well, who's 77? And 77, well, I mean, this guy has got a name that's worth getting on the list.
It is.
My guy, like Storm Norton. And
it's a superstar name.
Genuinely, I mean, linemen can tend to almost go very much under the radar in terms of a wider, like wider, sort of more known faces, I guess, within the league. And I look at this guy's 30 years old. He's been around. He's played for loads of different teams. I think he spent the majority of his time with the Chargers. But like that O-line did not look troubled in that last drive. And if that's the case, Storm, you just stay yourself where you are, Chief, because like if that's going to bring the stability to the line, even if it's 50% better of what we've seen in the opening sort of 4 games, then hell, I mean, any improvement on that line means Des gets a bit of extra time and hopefully a bit of extra composure to start making some more of them throws that we've seen this week.
Also, the trenches, they never have photos after the game. So I can only assume that it's Storm that's gone, come on, lads, let's have a snap together.
Storm Norton is flying up in my estimations after only one drive. And, we'll try not to fall in love too quickly. But listen, man after my own heart, a big O-line. And he stepped in, and that O-line looked a lot more composed to my eyes anyway. Liam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you say it, I feel like I'd heard the name before. I don't know if it's just because one of them cool names. But I couldn't remember who he was. But then I looked at who he was. Thanks, Paul. And I recognise his name. He's from he was from the he went to the XFL.
Okay.
And I did read that actually during the what year would have been 2020, the COVID season, whatever the COVID season was, but they didn't finish it. At the time when they ended that season, he was the highest rated offensive lineman in the whole of the XFL at that time.
Okay.
Which I don't know what you want to take from that, but but that's not bad, is it? There's obviously he's come back into the NFL. I don't know what he's done before. Yeah, what he's done before he came to us, but good on him for having a go. I think from terms of McGarry, obviously I know he's not really been very good this season, but would you sort of, would you be dropping him when we paid the money that we sort of paid to him now? Like, I think you've got to probably stick with him at least. he's unplayable. And
I guess my point more is, McGarry. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know, like, you can say what you like about PFF, whether you believe in it or whether you don't, right? But Storm Norton had a higher PFF grade this week, albeit with a smaller sample size than McGarry had 3 quarters. So, listen, I get what you're saying. I do. I think that the contract that he was given at the time, I think we could, if it doesn't work out, I think it's fairly easily cuttable, because I think a big chunk of the money was up front. So, and I'm certainly not saying that it was the answer, but what I am saying is that the proof's in the pudding, right? And if he is more capable of protecting Dez, which we kind of need him to, if we're going to keep asking him to throw the ball like he did yesterday, then I want the lineman on the field that's going to make that happen, and not the lineman on the field that isn't making it happen. So,
yeah, maybe obviously, he's got to. You'd have to do this for weeks on, a couple of weeks or used to full games to obviously show that he's the answer. Yeah. I think, I guess anybody could have a quarter, but if he is, if he carries on with that sort of form, then you've just got to go with the players that are playing well.
Be interested to see the depth chart and the injury lists come middle of the week. It was said that McGarry left the game with a knee injury, so I don't know if Arthur mentioned anything in his presser. I didn't hear it if he did, but yeah, I think it's nice off the back of a game where we relied on Dez to throw, and the O-line turned up for the, arguably the first prolonged period of time since the beginning of the season.
I think we've got a hats off to some of the other offensive players as well. London arguably had one of his better games for the Falcons so far.
100%.
One huge play, obviously. And then Pitts was 11 targets, I think, which would have been perfect for our under or over if it was a week before.
Correct.
11 targets and about 7 receptions, I think it ended up in the end. But
I think he ended up around 80 yards, I think, roughly.
Yeah, something like that. But steady progress. Again, we're not asking for the world straight away. And in fairness to Ridder, he was pinging the ball all over the place. I think it was the largest spread of receivers that we've had this season so far.
Everyone.
Which Smith alluded to in his press conference, saying
everyone was involved,
that's what we want. Yeah,
and I think the there's probably definitely some truth in the fact that Pitts is still getting over an injury. And I did watch some film back from the Jags game, and he looked sluggish. He looked cumbersome. He didn't look like he was really getting stuck into people, which as a tight end, you've got to do. It comes with the territory, right, in the NFL. So I don't know if this speaks to Pitts is starting to feel better. I don't know, but it felt like a much more rounded team performance.
Yeah. There was a highlight or a low light reel of Pitts that went around throughout the week of these like failed runs and stumbles and things like that. And I know you can make anybody look brilliant or anybody look terrible in a tiny little clip. However, it was a lot, and they were all from this season. So it was a lot of times he's taken a little stumble or run the wrong route, and so it makes sense. It makes sense. Maybe we've been too hasty to say that he wasn't being targeted. He wasn't being targeted because he wasn't always available as often as we'd like to hope. So fair enough.
I think you're pretty much spot on. And even there was one, I think it might have been when Ridder went in for his scramble touchdown, and Hollins went straight up to him, grabbed a hold of it, because we all seen that video as well, didn't we? That that Hollins was shouting at Dez and stuff like that, and Hollins was quite quick to come out and say he didn't. And look, it's a physical game, right? And you get emotions are running high and all that sort of stuff. But again, just they all were on top of him, high-fiving him, and it was great to see. It was it felt much more like a team display.
Yeah.
And even the little bits like when London caught that pass, and then got dragged to the floor, helmet off, just giving it large, and that's what I want to see. We needed more. We need more of that absolute
chemistry and cohesion. Like there's not been big enough moments for the players to feel that with each other yet this season. I don't think. Whereas some of those, like the pass to London, was not only was it a brilliant pass and a brilliant catch, but it was a game-changing moment.
Yeah,
some of the balls to Pitts and stuff like that, and it just felt like, I know we were all in the chat talking about it during the game, that even when we were down, we weren't quite as down and out as we've been in some of the other games. Like last week against the Jags, the second we were down by 2 scores, we were like, it's pretty much game set and match.
We even seen a little bit of fancy players coming out this weekend. The little the little trick play that they ran, which got launched up in court. The little shovel pass for Bijan's touchdown, and Bijan, being Bijan, of course, decides to pop the ball behind his back for a second, and then it was just it was
very mammal.
And I think it's one of the things that was notable for me this weekend. We found out Bijan's human, right? So he had the fumble, right? And like absolutely, just kind of like next play, right? Okay, we're back kind of, there's a you kind of get, when you play football, it's always like you have memory of a goldfish. Don't worry about the last play, just worry about the next one, and that shone through. I mean, the guy's obviously a special talent, we know that, right? But it could have easily have knocked confidence, and it could have easily have derailed the game plan. But it just did.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the Drake London play was obviously really nice. The throw, or see that creativity. It didn't even go as planned, did it? Really, that play. If you sort of obviously plan to get in that little pocket, that actually there was somebody about to tackle him, and you managed to dodge him and still get throw off. I didn't know. I didn't actually know. I don't know if he threw it with his left hand, didn't he? Which it looked awkward as hell, the throw, but obviously players when non-QBs tend to look awkward.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's left-handed or not. Obviously, I don't know whether he had to switch hands and sort of throw it left-handed. I did try to Google when he was left-handed. I did find it. I did find a Reddit post that described Drake London as, I saw online that he is amphibious, which I don't think that's what he meant.
I'm pretty sure the term's ambidextrous, but
maybe ambidextrous, maybe.
Which just made me laugh at ages. He's amphibious. That's what.
The most Reddit quote ever.
But, I just love that little sort of like shimmy around the end throw. It was just great to see. And some of Ridder's throws that I really liked, were, in particular, there's sort of two. The one to Drake London with sort of like the back shoulder throw, at a little bit of height, where basically London was going to dominate anybody there with his sort of physical presence and height. Like that's the perfect throw that London will beat anybody on. And then the other throw was to Algier for the 2-point conversion, where he put it down low, into his hands, were basically the only place where the corner would not be able to reach round. If you put it higher, obviously he could have got his hand over. Obviously, any lower, Algier wouldn't be able to catch it. It was just exactly where it needed to be, and there's that type of accuracy that sometimes goes unnoticed. Where when you watch the top QBs play, they're not just throwing a ball to a guy; they're throwing to exact positions, aren't they? Where that receiver can catch it and the corner can't get to it. And that was 2 throws where Des actually did it. Where he obviously has been struggling recently with accuracy. He's been too high or too low or too wide, and we sort of saw some real accuracy with, and not throwing it at the same pace as he's been throwing it a little bit. I don't know if anybody really noticed that. Maybe he did take a little bit of zip off some of them, so I assume he's probably been watching.
Maybe listens to the pod. Maybe he took it. Maybe he took your advice.
That's the only explanation is that he's listening to the pod. So you're welcome.
Absolutely.
So there's all sorts going on in the YouTube chat, and I just so
Crazy.
I kind of thought it was a wind up when Harry Potter decided to this one.
That's not even the worst one.
No, I know. So he has a short story. Harry Potter wants to know if
King Cousins
is available.
legal.
And then that one.
There was an attempt.
And there we go. We got
and in between all of that, we had Maggie. So a little shout out.
Yeah, hi, Maggie. But I guess to answer that, and obviously we had a chat towards the back end of last week's show.
Yeah.
Would I go for Kirk Thuggins in free agency? No, I wouldn't. I don't really understand. I mean, we've given Heineke a 2-year contract, and if Des continues to be the guy, then I don't really see any reason why we need a veteran. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Cousins is a decent quarterback, but I'm just not really sure why we would if Des continues to be the guy. Yeah. If he isn't, then I think there are options out there, as we discussed last week. I don't really want to kind of revisit old ground, but I think if we are heading into free agency and we're looking for a new QB, and the draft isn't where we need it to be, I think you pick up the phone to Arizona or to Chicago. But that's again, and a lot of arguments on the socials have been had about that this week as well. So I don't want to stoke any more fires. I just I think to kind of answer that question, to put it to bed. I mean, guys, if you disagree, hop in. But from my point of view, it doesn't really.
I think Cousins has shown that he's good, serviceable sort of guy, but he's not been able to do it when it matters, and I kind of don't think what's the point of paying what would be you'd demand a pretty solid amount of money for play that we know just isn't of the level. I'd rather take a risk on somebody that's maybe a little bit, that's maybe not done it in that sense. I feel like you have to have a lot around Cousins, which is what he's had in Minnesota. He's had the best receiver in the league sort of for the last few seasons. He had, obviously maybe not this season, but in previous seasons, he's had a great running game with Cook. He's had a good old line. Did not deliver. So
yeah. Can I just propose a little concern to you both? You might not share. Although the D have been very fluid and stopping yards and everything, is the lack of sacks concerning anyone? That we're able to stop the pass, we're able to stop the run, but we just can't quite get them extra yards in to hit the quarterback. I know it's irrelevant in theory when you're performing well, but it's also good for momentum of the game, isn't it, to get a sack here and there to keep.
Oh going. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a weakness of this defense. But then again, this is the best defense we've had certainly in my memory. So is it a concern? Yeah. I mean, we'd like more, right? I think what we do know with Ryan Nielsen's coaching is that he builds nasty D-lines. Saints were never short of sack numbers. I think it's more getting the system that they've got to work. I think, that's certainly an area for improvement. Am I concerned? No, but I mean, again, I would like more. I would like it to be better. I think it's definitely a weakness that we've got right now. I think, Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell out on the edge. I mean, probably not what you'd necessarily term as the most dynamic edge rushers. I mean, I think I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not seeing Ebiketie a little bit more.
I agree. Yeah.
But, I guess I'm sure Coach, is aware that is a weakness and we'll be trying to address it. I kind of feel like it's more of a personnel thing, but and again, like I say, why aren't we seeing Ebiketie We took an edge rusher in the draft. He hasn't seen a snap yet. So I guess I'm more concerned with the fact that it just doesn't really look like we've got a plan to improve it necessarily.
Yeah,
I think that's more the concern.
Liam?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's not, I don't describe it as a concern, but yeah, we've had a defensive line that's not been getting sacks for quite a while now, and again, really, that's kind of what we've got. We've improved other areas, which is obviously sort of helping out the defense as a whole. Like we've seen, obviously, the secondary's obviously improved a lot. We're not too bad at sort of like interception numbers and things like that. We're playing pretty well. If on top of that, if we could have a pass rush, it would be pretty lethal, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We have we have pretty poor. Like we have poor sack numbers. We've got. I'm pretty sure we're at the bottom of the league in sacks, and we're bottom of the league in sack percentage out of pressures as well. Like it's not, if you're sort of down the bottom end, middle to bottom, like you think okay, but when you're at the actual bottom, I'd probably say that is a bit of a concern when you are genuinely sacking the weak quarterbacks in the league. Especially when you think how that shows how good that secondary must be playing to actually, we're not actually getting to the quarterback like other teams, but we're still stopping them, with the secondary and doing a really good job of it. So that shows how well they're playing. Imagine if we were generating just that little bit more pressure consistently, it'd be awesome, like in the way that they're playing. So, we've got a long way to go with that. And like Mark said, I don't see even like advocating and stuff like that. It'd be great to see more those players, but I don't think, he's not the answer to big sack numbers, is he? And we probably haven't got anyone on the current roster who is. But to be honest, it's very difficult to go out there and get a guy who's going to put up 10 plus sacks like consistently. Like it's just hard to find. Even like Hutchinson and thing for the Lions, who's sort of struggled a little bit this season, hasn't he? How good was he in college? He maybe will be an awesome player, but he's not playing amazing right now. And
remember in that draft, right? In that draft, it was really, really heavy with edge rusher talent, right? Jags took, his name escapes me now. What was his name? The one that went number 1 in that draft.
What? For the
not one of the Jags.
Not Walker, was it?
Yeah, that was it, Walker. So we got Walker in that draft, who looks like a pretty good. Thank you. Got it in the comments. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Nice.
But you had him in that draft. He's turned into a pretty good run stopper, but not so much against pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
So Hutchinson went second. Then not far behind him, Caden Thibodeau went to the Giants. He's been horrific this season. So I guess what I'm saying is I do expect in the next couple of off seasons us to invest heavily in the trenches, because I think that's, O-line and D-line really are for me kind of big improvement areas where you'd probably want to put some of your capital. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's taken Hutchinson a year to be good. Thibodeau looked okay in flashes last year, but for most of it, not. He's certainly not warranting the hype of the pick that he got. And same with Walker, right? So I guess my point is, just because there's this kind of rage and talent that everyone's all in on in the draft, sometimes it can just be for. Tack McKinley, right? We all remember him. So I think, and we passed on, and let's just remind ourselves, we passed on TJ Watt for Tack McKinley.
Don't remind, please don't.
No, we didn't need that one.
Well, yeah, just
no, you're only speaking facts, but don't speak them.
Let's have it right. So. I think it's more of a concern if we don't see adjustments being made, and if we end up at the season at the end of the season, even if we make the playoffs, I think if we're still kind of bottom of the table in them sack numbers, it's definitely going to have to be somewhere where they go in the off season and improve.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just thought I'd put it out there. And like
Yeah,
I said,
that's a fair comment. Right?
popping off. Unless anyone has anything else about the week just gone, I'm more than happy to move on to the Commanders.
I have one thing.
Just one little
So just one thing. So it was only a couple of weeks ago. Koo had a bad game. We worked out some kicker that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, Arthur's shopping Koo and all this sort of stuff." Koo had another brilliant game. He has came back in and again, memory of a goldfish, not let it bother him. And I think the best part of where they were, because we were, I think Des took the knee on the second and the third down to line up the kick. So that that order has obviously come from Arthur. Don't put the ball in a difficult position. Take the knee because we know Koo's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
And he did get it done. Now, to my earlier point, I would really like to stop being in this position where we have to rely on last 10-second kicks to win the game. But it has to be said that he's always been solid. He's always been worth the money we paid for him. And it was just great to see Coach Smith put the faith in him to go and win us that ball game. It was almost kind of like it was never in doubt, I guess, from the minds of the players, because the players were like, "Yep, cool, take the knee, and then get Koo on the field." And
I agree. The only thing that puts slight doubt in our mind, depends what channel you guys were watching it on, but the broadcast cut out just as he kicked the ball. Admittedly, it was between the posts at the time, but still, weirder things have happened. So I did not appreciate that.
Indeed. But that was only one thing that I wanted to add.
So, this weekend coming, Commanders sitting at 2-3, just got a good 40-20 hiding off the Bears. How are we both feeling?
Go on, Liam, you stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, I think we're it's a very up and down season.
Be positive for once, Liam. We believe in you.
But certainly feeling positive after the last game. I think I'm feeling more certainly trending positive at the moment, obviously, but it was that's not difficult after the 2 games before it. I think we got to see something consistent. We'll see across this team now. If we can get consistency across this team, where we can have a real good season still. We've had obviously a couple of wobbles and stuff, but there's plenty of time left in the season. If we can implement something that that's working, then we could genuinely have a strong playoff run. We have got the capability to do it. But I think the key to it is going to be Des, isn't it? If he can keep that level of consistency, I think there's enough quality around him to go with it. The next couple of games are going to be sort of the real teller, aren't they? If he can play well over the next couple of games, I'd be a lot more confident about the season ahead. If he sort of reverts back to struggling again, it'll change a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. I get what I know. What people, we haven't got an option. Really, we can't do anything. We can't draft anybody right now. We can't. You can't sign a free agent. We haven't got the money if we wanted to.
Well, we have got money.
Yeah, not to sign somebody that real quality.
Yeah,
not sign a QB. I don't think we've got the money to sign a QB of that level. That's going to be proven awesome. There isn't even one available really. Heineke's not the answer regardless. Yes, he could potentially perform better than Ridder, but he's not the answer to
he's not who you build around.
He's not going to win a franchise quarterback. He's not going to win the whole thing, is he? He's not good enough to do that. So there isn't anything better than Ridder that we can actually do. So you've got to give him time. Even if it doesn't work, it's not going to be any worse than what other options we have. We don't have an option to make it any better, so we just got to go with it, and we hope that he develops and becomes the quarterback we want him to become. So, and I think that the next game is going to be an interesting one. It's the kind of game where it's very, very winnable. The Commanders have been absolutely leaking points like it's no tomorrow. So
and Sam Howell is getting put on his back.
They haven't got an awesome team in general. I get that, but they have been absolutely they've been putting up okay points, haven't they? But they've been, I don't know how many points they've let up.
And listen, Howell can sling it, right? So I think he's, even though they're on the record that they're on, I don't necessarily think it's just down to him. I mean, like you said, right? He's been putting points up. He's made that connection with McLaurin.
Yeah.
So you still got Chase Young on the other side of the ball. Like that there are some pieces on this Washington team that can give you a game.
Absolutely.
Howell threw for 388 yards. And they still got leathered. We don't hit them yards on a good day, never mind a bad day. So he's got something.
Apart from the game against Buffalo, where he threw however many interceptions, and they got absolutely just annihilated all over the field. It wasn't just him; they got absolutely battered. Like every other game, he has performed well for them. And he's had to, because they've got two solid running backs, but not guys who are electric. So he has to sort of carry that team as a rookie that really wasn't even expected to sort of play potentially. People didn't think he'd actually ever make the first team. So he's done really well, and he's certainly a threat to us. But our challenge, we say, or what we should be doing, is we should not have the quality to do what other teams have been doing to the Commanders and put 30 plus on them and make them score 40 to beat us.
Yeah. Maybe, just maybe, Mark, you'll get your game where it's not a one score or a 2 point
maybe. I'd like to be in a position where I'm not having to, attach myself to an ECG towards the end, because I can feel, I can count my pulse between my butt cheeks. Like it's just. I would really, really not like to be that stressed again. And listen, I think just one thing, right? So we've got next 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Commanders, Bucks at the Bends.
Yeah.
Titans at the Bends.
Yeah.
At Minnesota.
And then Cardinals
at the Bends. So even by the law, so we're five games in, right? They're the next 5.
Yeah.
We're 3-2 at the minute. I mean, I don't want to jinx anything, right?
Oh,
but
dear.
It's really not a bad running.
It could be much worse. I don't want to jinx it either, but it could be much worse, especially when our performances at the Bends have significantly outweighed our
right? So worst case scenario, right? We're 3-2. Even if we win the 3 games at the Bends and then lose the other 2, we're 6-4.
It's
right?
not bad, is it?
It's still, I mean, it's again not ideal, because then as you get into the later stages of the year, you're
having to win.
Jets, Panthers, and then Saints twice,
Finishing on the Saints
Bears,
as well.
Colts. Like, you could still be going into those sort of like last 7 games of the season, only really needing 4 wins to get to make it to 10-7.
Very possibly.
So we've we've got to stop making this so hard on ourselves. Like and like we said all throughout this show. And Maggie said it earlier on as well. We've got to give them time, and to a certain extent, I agree. Like, I'm not calling for him to be benched, but all I'm saying is that he's got to find consistency, and he's going to. And until he finds consistency, everybody in the media is going to keep dicking on him, and I want this kid to succeed so badly, just to see a lot of people who will be proved wrong about him. And not again, I know I'm not saying he's going to turn into Mahomes, but this is, this is still a young kid that's evolving. Yeah. He's 3-2.
It is. It is. Like you just said, I wouldn't be going in at 6-4. I wouldn't be that concerned. We've finished seasons not much better off than that, and we'd still have 7 games to play. So it's looking all right. I don't want to say too much more, but
no, I know, because we automatically do it. But when we're going to Super Bowl, baby, and and I think the swing now in terms of what the playoffs might look like, because it felt like a little while ago is that all the talent was in the AFC. Yeah, but I think you're really starting to see with the likes of not a hugely long-term project. Maybe San Fran a little bit longer, but the Eagles have turned things around in the space of 3 seasons. And they've just done it by just being smart. Yeah. And they've got better and better and better. So I think it's our path to the playoffs is very much fraught with danger. But let's face it, looking at this schedule, they've got no better opportunity than this season make a playoff run of any note.
Yeah, I agree. Just got a little one there from Maggie back to Ridder. It's fair enough. Like Liam referred to earlier, Heineke isn't the man. So do you just gamble on your rookie quarterback anyway, because you're not going to build around Heineke?
Well, 100%.
He might be a little bit more consistent and steady. We're not developing him, are we?
I think the biggest disappointment, and we said it quite a lot on this on this show, all the way throughout, even after we'd won the first 2 games, and it was like the guy's got like he's like one of the things that made him so attractive was that he didn't make mistakes, right? But he's got to learn. He's got to make mistakes to learn from them, I guess, right? So I think it's almost where we're at, and I think one of the reasons that last week hurt so much was that it was just like bad choice after, badly executed after bad choice, but I guess they always say that when it doesn't rain, it pours,
Yeah, it's one of those. I was just going to say, it's no different to working in any other job. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning or your day starts off terrible, then sometimes everything falls apart around you, doesn't it? So it's just he happens to have 10 million people watching him every single day in work. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. There's a storm coming to Washington, baby.
Oh no.
That's the name of next week's show.
I was going to say. Love that.
Liam, was there anything else on the Commanders that you wanted to add in there?
I think, like I said, you've got the threat actually is probably the quarterback play there in terms of our defense, but I think we've got enough
secondary
quality to handle what they've got in that area. I just think this is probably the game that we really have to sort of put numbers. They've got obviously, I think they've got some good sack numbers, and we know their D line's very good. But it's got some absolute beasts on there, like possibly in terms of sort of like player for player is probably the best D line maybe in the league in terms of like if you look at the quality of like Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Payne, you've got Allen, is it Jonathan Allen? Like that's 4 very good players. But people have been getting the ball out fast and exposing that secondary. for what it is, and that's what I'm expecting us to do as sort of a game plan. That's been a little bit of an issue for us in terms of getting the ball out fast over the last few weeks. Like we did it obviously more yesterday, but we haven't been doing it as before that. So if we continue to get the ball out fast, I think our wide receivers and Pitts has got more than enough quality to completely dominate
100%.
that secondary. We've got the run game to have an impact on the game. Maybe we won't run wild on them because they have got the quality to stuff you sort of at the line, but we've got the quality in Bijan and Tyler to have an impact with, and it's going to be a game for me that Dez has got to take over and basically win it for us.
We can do it on the road.
Yeah, which I think after this week, he's shown that he's got that in him, and if he can go and do it again, then he's starting to show that when he's got opportunities to play well, he can play well. So it's going to be a test for him in an interesting way because he's going to get pressured. There's going to be sack pressure coming from both sides. That's what we've got to consider. There's not just one guy there that can sack you. There's two, which is going to be interesting for him. But if he can get the ball out quickly or step up in the pocket a few times, show that kind of smart, switched on ability that we want from a quarterback, I think he'll be fine, and he gets the ball out. We could genuinely batter him if we really do play well and our defense plays well. But it's the Falcons at the end of the day, so I'm not going to count on it.
We remember our play.
Yeah.
Stunning. So if nobody's got anything else, I have the over and under.
Okay. How are we doing?
We all got points last week. It was only the Falcons to get over or under 12 points. We got 21 and we all went over. Yeah. So stunning. Well done, boys. Point on the board for everyone. This week's a little bit more niche. It's going to be Tyler RJ to get under or over 2.5 yards average per rush.
Oh.
To break it down a little bit, so far this season, he's averaged 5, 3, 1.7, 2.3, and 2.35. So I've slapped it right in the middle. And it's one of those that's really hard to predict because it is pure lucky dip, but that's kind of why I've done it, because I thought the score one was too much of a given.
Yeah. It's a bit of...
Because all it takes is one big play and your average shoots up, but when you get no, then...
Yeah, I'll go on. I'll go over.
Okay, all right. I'm taking the over as well. I've not got Cal's yet, so we'll see. But Liam, go on, be negative.
Yeah, I think he'll get over that.
Just one big run.
Yeah, and I think he's struggled a little bit sort of recently in terms of his runs. I don't think he has been as good, but I think he will get over that. I would expect a running back's going to be aiming for 3.5 plus. Most games is what they're going to be looking for as a good game. So I would expect that. Whilst obviously he hasn't consistently been doing it, I would anticipate that a running back of his quality should be able to get over 2.5 yards against any team.
And I think this week, what makes me think he's going to have a bit of a better game, or not better, sorry, more productive game.
Yeah.
But is I think with that against this Washington defensive line, I think the likelihood of it, we'll see more runs outside. So, and from last season, Algier ran those routes really, really, really well. So I can see us finding a bit of success on that sort of outside run around the D line up the sideline. So I think I'll definitely take the over.
No problem at all. I will note them down and then try and get Cal's in time.
How are we doing against each other on the over?
Let's go for that.
All right, I've got the tally. Unfortunately, Mark, I think we're down at the moment. So
you're optimistic, you see.
Bear in mind, we started week 2, not week 1, because I wanted goalposts for everything, so we needed stats. So we've had 4 so far. week 1, we all 3 of us got points, so that's 1 each, and Cal wasn't there, so that's his bye week. Week 2, Callum, Liam, so that's 2 for Liam and 1 for the rest of us. Week 3, Callum, Liam, so that's 3 for Liam, 2 for Cal, 1 for me and you, Mark. And then we all got points last week, so it's 4.
Oh my word!
At the moment, which is heavy. And this is where the problem lies, because we've all gone the same this week. We're not gonna. Sometimes you go gamble on the other just to see.
Well, can we do an over and under next week, which is a little bit more adventurous?
Okay, we'll do a spicy one.
Yes.
Why you can't even do the easy ones?
Something that Liam can be negative about.
There we go. Rid of 400 yards and just see what happens with everyone.
I got the negative ones right.
So I've got something that I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention.
Oh God!
For any other business.
Okay.
So I was doing my usual scrolly through Twitter earlier on. I'm still refusing to call it X. So Giants had a really, really bad weekend this weekend, as you all know, right?
Yep.
And I'm not hating on the Giants, by the way. I just want to kind of make that clear. Although I've got quite a few close friends who are Giants fans, and I screamed at them repeatedly not to pay Daniel Jones, but they still went and did it. But again, that's kind of one of my only drawbacks on the Giants. But I saw a clip posted, and it was a particular play where there was some really, really bad O-line footage, and somebody had posted, "What on earth is number 62 doing?" And I watched it, and I don't know what he's doing. He just essentially goes to double team somebody, then decides that he doesn't need to, so just runs around in a circle. And I was thinking, that's positively awful. Who could that awful lineman possibly be?
Oh no!
Please stand up and show a moment of appreciation for Jalen Mayfield.
No,
who had a lineman ranking, so that I think it's almost like PFF, right? You get like a score for. His score was 0.
Oh my God!
So I think why I wanted to raise this, right? And if you haven't seen it, please just go ahead and go have a look, because watching it is so funny, especially if you've got.
Just sourced it now, so I'll post it out after this.
Awesome. So I think one thing that we have to kind of maybe just take stand up and just remember kind of where we've come from is that, we like, he obviously wasn't drafted by Arthur. He was of the last draft of the Dimitrov era. And kind of a standing ovation to Thomas Dimitrov to show you how badly you drafted players for the most part. Yeah. And I think it's almost good to see him being awful, because that means we were right.
It wasn't just good.
Give him a chance and then pie him off.
Yeah.
And how he's now automatically a starter on the Giants, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I can only assume they must have some injuries. But like, again, first round pick this year from the Giants. I think they drafted him at I think they might have drafted him before us. They drafted Evan Neal, and his rating on this thing was like 29 points. And I mean, it was all red. I mean, I don't know what metrics it was and stuff like this. So, I may just be quoting something that someone's made up in their bedroom. But it was just one of those moments where I was like, oh, well, another fairly good decision by Arthur Smith there to get rid of this absolute fraud of a human. Yes, indeed. I don't know if you boys had any other business.
Not strictly any other business, but I did want to do a tiny little roundup of the division, with it getting a little bit deeper now and a little bit spicy. Not too much, but the Lions obviously hammered the Panthers 42-24, leaving the Panthers at 0-5. I had the Panthers on for a decent season when we did our preseason show. What is going wrong, do you think?
Well, they just didn't have enough. They didn't have enough to start with, and they had all of that stuff in the offseason with Burns. It's obviously, again, new coach, stuff like that's going to take time to bed in. So I always thought it kind of almost felt like a season too early for the Panthers to start showing what they're about. I said I wouldn't have drafted Bryce at 1 back at the draft. So, and my feelings haven't really changed. He's looked borderline foolish at times this season. But again, he's young. He's been thrown in. He hasn't had a chance to learn off anybody. He's in a bin fire franchise. So, I suppose there's a bit of sympathy there that can be had for him, I guess. They've got, a little bit like we said about Washington. It's like they've got pieces that can do damage in games, but don't really feel like much of a cohesive unit. But if you want to, I think the funniest thing is, even if they end up with a number 1 pick, they don't get it because they give it to Chicago.
Yeah. Accurate, very, very accurate.
Bryce Young, Panthers fans, how are you feeling? Like, because that doesn't feel like a good decision to me. But hey.
Obviously, I think I'd be surprised. I don't know what. Obviously, I've not really looked at the talk, but I'd be surprised if any of the Panthers fans are not liking Bryce Young, in my opinion, because his actual stats are not that bad if you look at how they're actually performing from an O-line and receiver perspective. Because he's got pressure a lot of the time, and he's not used to that. So obviously that's one thing. He's a rookie. He's adapting to getting pressured a lot. Whilst at Alabama, he got there was pressure on him at times, but he's not anything like as consistent as it is in the NFL because they're your top team. And his receiving core, like Adam Thielen's like 200 plus yards more than any other player on that receiving core, and Thielen's like 33, not quick anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of drop passes from those other receivers.
Yeah, it's not like Chark's not that good, is he? Like Mingo's obviously a rookie and still finding his feet. Marshall's is okay. Like there's not a lot there is there? And I think he's shown enough to grow into something.
Oh yeah.
I said at the time of the draft, that's just like in terms of who's the most sort of like NFL ready quarterback. Like you definitely would have said Stroud anyway, because of just the way he sort of plays and operates and his brain. Like he was, even though I obviously love Alabama, I thought Bryce was great. I would have said Stroud is the one that's ready to step into the NFL more. He's ahead of Young, in that way right now. But maybe Young potentially has the higher ceiling just in terms of raw ability, which still could happen. But because he's got massive upside in terms of what he can actually do. As he's incredibly smart in terms of his play, and he's showing that enough this season to know that he's not making stupid decisions. As if he's not doing stupid things. He's just experienced a lot of pressure and maybe just rushing a little bit at times. But he's he's not throwing wild or anything, which is good for him. But he's got a lot to. There's a lot of improvement in that team that needs to be done, isn't it? They're not a good team. And let's be honest, I don't know why they hired him as head coach, because I'd never rated him in the first place. Like I don't like Reich. I don't think he's any good. So I thought that was a mistake, probably off, to be honest. I think
the thing is, and not to labor too much on the point, but realistically speaking, that even if Reich is the guy and Bryce evolves into an NFL QB, I think how can I put this diplomatically? The bottom line is, even if all of that stuff comes together, they're not even in the conversation for me for the next at least 2 seasons.
Okay, that's fair enough.
No, I don't think they're close enough on selling the offensive side of the ball yet. They'd have to improve a lot quite quickly. The O-line needs a complete overhaul. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Like that's hard to do even in 2-3 seasons. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Yeah.
So you'd have to
I mean,
spend a lot of money on it.
I mean, just to put it in some perspective, they're still paying Matt Rule for the next 7 years.
Exactly. It's not.
So-
They've not made the decisions, have they?
So heavy.
Oh mate, like 7 years still paying for the geezer that
That's so heavy. We thought we were in the mud with finances, but that's next.
Well, we
level.
were for a long time, but
Right. They went out and obviously the Eagles, they had obviously Sanders who wanted money. Not going to do it. They're not going to pay it. They didn't see enough from him. The Panthers went and paid him. I don't know what they paid him, but it's pretty good money.
I'll give you too much.
Like the money that he wanted, and the guy has more fumbles and touchdowns this season. So, 1 touchdown with an average 3 yards. It's not great, is it? So, it's just bad decision after bad decision. So,
yeah.
So
Fair
who's
enough.
next in the division, Danny?
Just a very brief one on these because both teams I could be hung, drawn, and quartered for mentioning. So the Saints beat the Pats 34-0, which has left the Pats sitting at 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
What is going wrong and right here?
I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It's
It's kind of like
both.
this story, this fairy tale. It's kind of come to an end where towards the end of that game, I watched the highlights. Saints did what they needed to do. I mean, I think that New England secondary now is so banged up that I would imagine everyone would probably fancy their chances thrown against the Pats right now. Bill just looked confused. Like he looked like he didn't know.
When do you wave the white flag? When do you call it a day?
He's benched his quarterback in two consecutive games. Come on, so I guess from a New England point of view, it's just so wonderful to see. It makes me so happy to see their franchise in the mud after cheating and all that lark for however many years. So that's cracking. Happy with that. Saints, I think they obviously they've got Kamara back, so which is a big part of their a big part of everything that they do. Derek Carr looks like Derek Carr. I genuinely don't really feel like, and it was a good result for them. I'm not, I can't take that away from them, right? No. I don't think that it was a huge challenge. I don't think Derek Carr's made them a great deal better. Again, he's just a bog standard serviceable quarterback.
He got 183 yards for 2 touchdowns and 18 out of 26 completions. That's just steady. Yeah. I mean, obviously the touchdowns is good, but that's not high yards. That's an all right completion rate, just steady.
And Kamara's always going to give you a ground game. So I think it's fair to say they're certainly not what they were. I don't think that they're better than us, but I guess now, what are the records? Is it are we all sitting on 3-2 apart from the Panthers?
The Bucks have just had their bye week, so
right, okay.
3-1. We're 3-2. Saints 3-2, and then 0-5 Panthers. But our bye week's not for a little while yet, so they'll be playing catch up for a while.
And I think that's that's certainly a good thing. I mean, listen, and I think just to roll it up before I hand Liam on this question, but Saints and Bucks, I don't really feel like they've played anybody yet, if I'm honest.
No,
I think Baker's been better than what people pegged them for, and I think Baker's got the ability to be a good quarterback. It's just he's just a pain in the arse. So it's not a major surprise he's ended up where he's ended up. I don't think the Bucs or the Saints are better than us, but I think that we need to get our house in order before we start worrying about them, because I think what will start to happen is if we lose a couple and they win a couple, that table is going to change really, really quickly. But I don't think they're better than us. But I think it's probably fair to say the Saints are where I thought they would be. Bucs probably performing better than I thought they would. Liam, I don't know if you've got any other view on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bucs have certainly surprised me a little bit as well. I think you said Baker's playing pretty well. He's doing what he needs to do in terms of he's got 2 top quality receivers and he's using them. He's throwing the ball to guys that make plays, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Like nothing wrong with doing that. It's a plausible tactic and it works. The defense is pretty good. I don't think they're great, but they're pretty solid. Saints are a similar position. Obviously, like you've got a solid sort of all-round sort of team, haven't they, without being spectacular. You've got players who can do things on both sides of the ball. Derek Carr, like you say, will just do good enough play to win games. He will win you games. He won't be amazing or consistent, but he will win you enough games usually to sort of make the playoffs sort of thing. But we've got a chance of like being up there with them as long as we can play at that same level of consistency. Win the games that we need to win. We won't win every sort of game from now on. We know, like personnel wise, we don't match with some of the teams out there, but we're good enough. Well, you never know. We're good enough. I think what it's going to come down to, isn't it? It's going to come down to games against each other. Ultimately, it's going to come down to the games we play against them. And that's what we need to win.
The last game of the season is disgusting, as always.
That's going to be really, really tough. And like Mark, I'm delighted to see the pictures. Obviously, failing on every aspect of the ball. Like they look like Matt Jones's face sort of sums them up at the whole team up at the minute. Just look absolutely broken.
It feels delightful, doesn't it? It really does.
Matt Patricia is sitting somewhere just doing a little victory dance, like proved it wasn't just me. It's truly just a wonderful sight to behold. I love it.
I want to give some props to Brock Purdy. I think how he's just been. I just think he's been great for the 49ers. Brock, he's just been just as the guy who got picked, last in the draft, and even earlier this season, people were saying like, you took what did it take Lance at 3 or 4, whatever it was, like high up. Obviously, never really gave him a chance, which I didn't think was fair. But at the same time, people were saying, "Oh, you can't put Brock Purdy in. Like he had his goal. Like he's not going to be good enough. Like put your high pick in, do all this sort of stuff." And he's doing it. He's doing it again. Like, he's showing it. Well, I know they've got great schemes and they got great running back and they got all that stuff going on. Like obviously, it's not just him, but he's doing exactly what he's been asked to do at an incredibly consistent, accurate rate, and it's just great for him that he's just delivering a playbook.
It breaks my heart to see Kyle Shanahan continue to. I'm guessing he's just sold his soul to Satan, if I'm honest, because it just doesn't really make sense to me how they keep finding cap space or draft picks or whatever it is. Like I don't know how they keep doing it, but it's impressive.
I just looked at his stats now, and that he's throwing 72% completion. Brock Purdy. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's got 123 quarterback rating so far this season.
Beautiful.
I mean, listen, and I think we had this conversation at the beginning of the season, right? But we always kind of like people were like, "Oh, Ridder's a 3rd round pick." Well, it's kind of out the window now. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to do the 7th round pick, so it just proves that quarterbacks can develop. I mean, like I say, I think it's a bit different for Ridder than Purdy because Purdy's walked into it quite a well-oiled and well-equipped.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think there's definitely still hope.
I'll take that. Well,
Sam Howell's been just to add a little point ahead of our next game. Sam Howell's been sacked 29 times this season so far.
Oh my
God! So if we can sack anyone, if we're gonna sack anyone,
I was gonna say, yeah, watch him. Watch. You've said this now. You've jinxed this one now. Where nobody's gonna lay a glove on it.
If we can't sack him at least twice,
something's gone wrong.
Yeah, because that 29 sacks
that is
in
awful.
5 games is a lot of sacks. That's more than Daniel Jones has Jalen Mayfield in front of him.
I can almost hear episode 76 now. Still 29 sacks. Yeah,
29 sacks.
I tell you who's not getting sacked. Des, do you know why? Because it's Storm Norton season, baby.
He's going to play all the positions on the O-line. It's just on his own.
That's amazing.
Gents, unless you have anything else, I'm all good to wrap it up. Just a little shout out. Matt Ryan is in the broadcast box for the Commanders game, so that will be worth a watch for anybody that's available to do so. No doubt he's going to refer to the D like he has every single week that he's been on TV so far, saying, "Why didn't I get that luxury?" Which is fair enough, mate. Fair enough. But yeah, thank you all for watching. It's been a really fun show. Another Victory Monday. Like, subscribe, follow, retweet, tell your mate to tell a mate. And we will hopefully be back next week with another W on the board.
Facebook, X,
whatever you want to call it.
YouTube,
all of them.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
What a sign off that will do for me. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you next week. See you later.
Yeah.